Well, we're live. No, I'm just joking. Well, all right. Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Books with Friends podcast. I'm out here with Austin Harshman. We're good old buddies. We played baseball together all through like middle school times. I think it was like it was like seventh grade travel, seventh grade, eighth grade,
middle school,
and then into high school.
High school as well.
Yeah, into high school. I quit after my junior year. Did you stay with it?
I quit junior as well.
You did?
I broke my ankle at the start of the season, and kind of that was the end, bro.
Yeah. The coach didn't make it. He made it not as fun as it used to be. It kind of was a bummer.
Second time.
Yeah. It was like military workouts, 5:30 a.m. running sprints
I agree.
before school for baseball. When you run like 100 feet, like sprint.
25 laps on the stairs.
Oh yeah, stair
At
laps.
least.
Oh my
You
gosh.
better not let him catch you.
Oh yeah, he ran them with us. He was old. He was old too. Well, he's alive still. But he's probably like
He's definitely in his 60s.
he was in his 60s and running stair laps with us.
Running suicides.
Yeah. It's so embarrassing if he beats you, man. You're just like, he beat people though,
Oh, he
didn't he?
definitely
Yeah.
Like Bates, Hoppy.
Yeah. He's kind of a badass, really, but just too like a Thor, Remember we had like batting practice, and he was out on the roof, like watching us, like of another building, because like we're like, where's Burton at? And I remember we look over, and he's
Football bleachers with like a pair of binoculars.
yeah, he's like
What?
scouting us, like from like he like leaves, and he's like, I want to see how they are when I'm not around.
What about the air horn?
Yeah. God, dude. But anyways, we got off the tangent already. But yeah, Austin and I go pretty far back here. We got him a book called Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I think it's a pretty good one. We'll dive into it in a second. But, first I'd like to ask you, what were some of your thoughts going in? Have you read like nonfiction books before? Was it a pretty easy read? Was it something that was, did you get bored reading it? Like, what was your experience reading it?
Yeah, so I do quite a bit of reading, both fiction and nonfiction, and I think it's a really good book. Basically, like you said, it's an easy read.
Mm-hmm.
Two, it casts light on a lot of financial issues and like just things that they don't really talk about in school. So it's quite an interesting read, especially for people our age
Yeah,
going into the adult world
absolutely.
and really experiencing that first financial like lessons and
Mm-hmm.
what have you. I took away a lot from the first half of the book more than the second half, basically because like that's the point of the life I'm at right now.
No, yeah, the second half is like the
So-
building, like the higher, like
Yeah, like avoiding taxes through corporations and
yeah,
like investing in assets, even though like I tried to start investing.
yeah. We're not there. We're not really there yet. Like to the point at which it's like big deal. Like
Sure.
it's important to like start now, but like it's not like it's gonna couple $100 every week aren't gonna like change your life.
Yeah.
Not like people that are like in their 40s and they
True.
have like this nest egg
Massive
or whatever.
portfolio,
Yeah.
just living off their investments.
Yeah, that'd be so nice. No, but yeah, I agree. I think the first half of the book is more applicable to people our age, and then maybe people later in life are to the second half. And like, I don't know. I think he does a good job. And like the first time I read that book, it was so I could fly through it, dude, because it was so easy. I've read other books that are like the authors are more what do I call it, like research based. So people that are like psychology books that I read, like they go so deep into these studies,
For sure.
and then they just to make one point, and you're like, dude, like I didn't need all the details. Like just
Give me the basics.
give me the gist. Yeah, give me the gist. But no, I agree. Like, I think this book in particular is super important because people our age reading it now, like, it has time to kind of digest and it can build on itself. So, like, adopting these things now at our age is a lot more important than someone adopting them when they're 30. Kind of like investing, you know what I mean? How it can kind of compound. So, like, knowing this now is going to save you so much, like, in the long run. But yeah, I mean, that's cool. And so you do read a lot of books, and that's good to know.
I'll probably read about a book a week.
Really? Wow.
I mean,
That's awesome, dude.
especially like not. That's both counting school.
Yeah.
And, like,
Yeah, it all
what
kind of
have
ties
you,
together.
but free reading, I'd say, I try to do a book a week, but
Mhm.
sometimes it'll be 2 or 3. But
Yeah, I mean
Depends on the
you
book,
can't
too.
force it to.
if
Yeah.
it's a big book, like this one, it was pretty easy to read. It flowed really nicely.
Yeah.
It's really relatable with stories and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So like that first day I had it, like I was just reading. I got like a quarter of the way through. I was
Wow.
like, oh. And I was like, probably stop and like digest the knowledge a little bit. But,
no, for sure. Yeah. That's great, dude. And yeah, definitely when you read, you have to like wait and like, because if you read the whole thing in one setting, you wouldn't even
exactly
be like. But books are cool about that because they kind of like that drip effect. Like you read it and then like after reading it for a week, it kind of you start to see more things happening than if you just read it all at once. Like that's kind of what I compare it to like a video, like watching a video about the same thing. It's not the same because it's not like a slow drip of information that you can like slowly like think about and digest. Like a video is just like everything at once in 7 minutes, and then you go on with your day.
And if you watch the video again, you'll see some things that you didn't see the first time.
Yeah, definitely. Well, that's good, man. Yeah, we can dive into the book a little bit and to kind of give a first outlook, like let's say 1,000-foot view. Robert Kiyosaki, he lives in Hawaii, I'm pretty sure in the book, and the whole theme is off of two dads. He has one dad that's his dad, and one dad that's his friend's dad, and his friend's dad didn't go to college. I think he only went to 8th grade, graduated from like middle school, 8th grade or something, right?
Yeah, I was really see if I can find it.
Yeah, go ahead.
But yeah, it was really interesting when I was reading it. It was talking about the guy with the doctorate degrees and all that stuff, and then he says, "I decided to take the teachings and learn from my rich dad." Which is the one who didn't have all the college degrees and what have you. I think it's the end of this. Yeah, here we go. At the age of 9, I decided to listen and learn from my rich dad about money. In doing so, I chose not to listen to my poor dad, even though he was the one with all the college degrees.
Yeah.
That really opened my mind. I was like, you know what? Like, I kind of relate with that. Like all the student loan debt I've accrued over the past couple of years, and so.
No, yeah, that's cool. It's funny how he like says it like that, and like the poor dad is his dad, like it's his actual dad, and the rich dad is his friend's dad. But yeah, I mean, he kind of paints this picture for both of them, right? He says his dad is a PhD, all about the career, all about
job
security. Yeah, and he said his friend's dad, who didn't go to school, past middle school, and he was very wealthy, and he knew the language of money. He might not know what his poor dad knew as far as like why his PhD, all that stuff, but he knew money better than his poor dad or his real dad.
I think the term he uses over and over again is financial literacy.
Mm-hmm.
And that really is kind of an eye-opener, just the word in itself, becoming like, because we think we're all literate, we're college students.
Yeah.
But we don't really apply that to finances as much as we do like actual books and teachings.
Yeah.
And we should, because finance is like pretty much the backbone of like everything. Like money can like runs the world, honestly.
Yeah, it really does.
Even though it's important to have, in a sense, it isn't as well, but yeah, to be like, I guess the knowledge of money is more important than the actual money itself, because like he says, money will come and go, but the knowledge you have of money will be with you forever.
Mm-hmm. And if you know how to make, there's like the story, like if you have a millionaire lost everything, he'd be a millionaire again. You know what I mean? Like he knows how to do it already. That knowledge of figuring out how to make that money back.
Yeah, and he's talking
never
about
lose that.
Powerball winners, like they get all that money up front, and then
blow it all.
More money leads to more like liabilities and what have you.
More problems, more expenses.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, when I read that book, man, I was like kept thinking about how we didn't have to have like that extent of knowledge like in high school, but man, like people that are not going to college or something, like, and they're going out into the world, like we get nothing about finance. Like we learn nothing really in school. Like they don't tell us anything. So, and he kind of talks about that, how like your understanding of finance or your financial literacy is dependent on your parents. And not all parents, if your parents are broke your whole life, you're like kind of screwed there. Like
you learn through like living with it.
Like,
and
like there's no like teachers of it like that are out there like accessible to people. I guess the teachers are wealthy and they're doing other stuff. Yeah.
I mean, I get what he says, because like even on the cover it says what the rich teach the kids about money that the poor and middle class do not.
Mm-hmm.
You have to teach from experience. Like if you're in like poor and middle class, like you can be financially literate, but you're typically, if you're in that class, you're gonna keep with the same habits.
Yeah.
So you're gonna pass those on to your kids, whether you actually teach it to them or they just like
pick
observe
it up.
you.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
That's why I like how he has the two dads to compare and contrast, and he
Mm-hmm.
talks about that a lot in the first, the introduction of the book, how they have different viewpoints, and it's how he led to getting his viewpoint through the contrast,
Mm-hmm.
which is really interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. And another thing that he pulls up, like with that idea of learning from his friend's dad, is like the idea that you can follow people that have, or that you should follow people that have a lot of knowledge about money. You know, like
The power of association.
Yeah. And so he chooses to follow an expert of money, not an expert of getting a safe job or a career, and he paints that picture pretty well. But I'm curious, because how much money does the richest person that you know have? We'll do that.
The richest
That you think, like, you don't have to. I mean, obviously the numbers are gonna be
person I
estimates.
know, the richest person I know personally, he works off commission, so he can make
Yeah.
$200,000 a year. He can make $1 million a year.
Wow.
From talking to him, he had his prime years when he was like back in his 30s and
Mhm.
40s when he first started his career, and he told me there was a few years in a row where he was the number one in his field, and he was making $500,000 a year.
Wow.
And now that he's established himself,
Mm-hmm.
he can work 1 or 2 days a week and still bring in $100,000 a year.
That's sweet.
And he works at home, which is awesome.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, mine, the person that I know, they're a doctor. So it's kind of like the traditional route, kind of, not the traditional route, but like the route that you'd kind of expect people that, if you want to go to school and you want to make a lot of money, like doctor, lawyer, kind of those people that come to mind. But yeah, sales, anybody that works off commission can definitely make a bunch. And so, I think it's just interesting. And does that person, do they adopt some of the habits that you read about in the book, or is it some of those things, or are they still kind of in that middle class mindset? You know, are they like gonna push through that?
See, they're on the end of the spectrum. They were brought up with a financially stable and wealthy family, so I feel like they adopted those habits at an early age and understood financial literacy and what have you. So they were just continuing their knowledge into their adult life.
Yeah.
Whereas I do know someone else who was dirt poor, ended up getting a physics degree.
Wow.
Never used the physics degree, got certified as like a financial advisor.
Wow.
And now that I think about it, he's the richest person I've ever.
So he's a financial advisor. That's like,
Correct.
that's exactly what.
Exactly.
Yeah. See, like, I don't know, and I need to get in connection with people that are that knowledgeable and follow them and like ask them, because I think they would be more than happy to share with you and like,
Sure.
dude, how do I just make some money? How do I do it? But yeah, I mean, that's always interesting to kind of talk about, because it's not something that's like not that talked about. Like, money's kind of one of those things that you don't always want to ask people about. It's kind of one of those spoken things. It's like,
it's one of those things that's everybody has to talk about it,
Mhm.
or like at least acknowledge it, but at the same time it's a very sensitive topic for people
yeah,
who either don't make money or like they make a lot of money and you're trying to learn from them.
Mhm.
Like, they could take it the wrong way.
yeah, they could,
Like,
they could
like they
be
could
offended or
think you're
something.
thinking of them more as like a way to learn
Mhm.
versus like a friendship or like a relationship
Yeah, I
So-
could see that. Like, they're using them just so you can.
for self gain,
Yeah.
self progression,
Mm-hmm.
which isn't that big a deal to some people. But I know I've asked one of my parents' friends before, and he was like, kind of said with the rich dad, like, it's not about how you make more money; it's how you manage the money that you are making.
Yeah, definitely, and that's what he mentions in the book, right? Like, about assets, and like, we can get into that later. I like how he defines those too, though.
The diagrams.
Yeah, I think it's
charts.
it's really cool. Yeah, he does a lot of diagrams in that book
He
and
does.
paints the whole picture for you.
And the diagram. Sorry to cut you off.
No, you're good. Go
The
ahead.
diagrams, I like looking at them because I'm a business major and I've taken accounting classes and seen like the full breakdown of these diagrams, like
Mhm.
in the university's like,
Yeah.
viewpoint,
Mm-hmm.
and seeing his viewpoint, like taking out the numbers and just using like keywords,
Yeah.
is a lot more easy to follow for people who maybe aren't majoring in fields such as business or accounting.
Definitely. It can get really intense. 'Cause I majored in business as well, and like if you're deep into accounting, you're just like the charts are just the T charts and everything. It's a pain in the ass. It kind of is, like, to look at it and learn about it. But no, yeah, we can kind of dive into that a little bit. And he defines an asset, and he does it very simply. And in university, they don't even define it like this. They define it in a different way. But an asset is something that brings money into you, and a liability is something that takes money out. And I know in university it's similar, but it's not always the same, the way that you kind of learn about what an asset and a liability is as far as on the accounting terms, like when they. Yeah. But as far as a personal finance level, that's all you need to know. An asset's something that brings money in, and a liability is something that brings money out. And he mentions that, like, a lot of people in the middle class, they think that like a liability or an asset would be like their house, or an asset would be their car. But they're making monthly payments on their car. They're making monthly payments on their house. It's not bringing them any money in. So he kind of flips that and he goes, those things are actually liabilities. They're taking money out of your pocket. And until they put money in your pocket, they're always going to be a liability. And so he's like, the rich create assets, and they build and they just keep feeding their assets, so they keep bringing in more money.
Yeah, like, for example, he compares the viewpoints on, like, for example, a house.
Yeah.
And the rich dad considers it a liability, whereas the poor dad says it's, like, their family's greatest asset.
Mm-hmm.
And let me see if I can find it.
Yeah, you're good.
He basically just breaks down the income statement of owning a house with the mortgage payment, property tax, insurance, like all that, utilities.
Mm-hmm.
And a little bit earlier, he talks about it like just a typical couple. When we start making more money, they want that nicer house.
Yeah.
Not realizing that it comes with higher insurance, like more utilities, etc.
Mm-hmm. More money out, bigger liability.
Correct.
Yeah. So kind of thinking about, what do you think about like the tiny home movement? Because that's like kind of a way that like let's say like you're making good money, and like most people go and get a bigger house. Like they get a pay raise, and like, dude, in a couple of years I can get a bigger space. But people that are like, dude, I don't even need a bigger space. Like I'm happy with what I have. And then they can just they have so much more money to work with now. They have so much less leaving out of their check every year.
I've kind of experienced it firsthand personally. I lived, for example, in an apartment, nice apartment, about $350 a month.
Okay.
And like it got the job done.
Mm-hmm.
Like I was more than happy there, but I got a promotion at work, started making more money,
mm-hmm.
and I'm like, I can get a nicer apartment now.
Yeah.
And so I did, and kind of realized, it comes with like more. I'm still not saving money, even though I'm making more money.
Yeah.
I'm still having the same amount,
absolutely.
on hand.
Yeah. That's always tough though, right? Because like you want to feel like you're pretty comfortable, and like, but like you adapt so quickly to your environment that like it's probably not like the place you're living in now is probably not much like to you back when you were living at your other place. It's probably not that much different. Maybe a little bit extra here and there.
Square footage wise, it's actually
it might be a lot. It might be a lot.
Exact same.
Really.
Just
nicer stuff, like appliances
just
and everything.
Nicer appliances, like
it's
got vaulted ceilings versus
that's nice.
Normal ceilings.
Mm-hmm.
Central air.
Yeah.
Central air is key.
No, that's pretty big. That's something that's pretty big.
The main flaw was we had a wall AC.
Oh man.
Other than that was probably the biggest difference. Honestly,
yeah,
AC.
that one's probably worth it. Honestly,
it was honestly worth
it. That's something that's like more comfortable and stuff. But yeah, I mean, we just adapt so quickly to our environments. And like, if you like, I don't know if it's even worth the money at a certain point. Like, at some level, like you need to be like in a space where you're like, I feel like comfortable. Like it's in a place where you like it. It's got some stuff, but you don't need to keep upping it.
Yeah, every single time.
Yeah, it's not gonna be. It's not gonna give you that what you think it is.
So yeah, I've actually like kind of been looking because we still have another year
mm-hmm.
on our lease, but we've been kind of looking at places that are either the same or lower,
mm-hmm.
just so because like we want to travel and stuff, and we want that extra
mm-hmm.
like little bit to do those things and like pursue like things we actually want to do.
Yeah.
Versus just having a comfortable, nicer living space.
Yeah. Absolutely.
We're young adults and we should be like exploring the world. And stuff.
Yeah, I know. You need to get some money. So I'm curious, what are your thoughts about money? Is it like because I know some people are making generalizations here, but kind of you have to have some kind of conversations like this. But some people are just all about making money. That's all they care about. It doesn't really matter what they're doing. It matters about how much money they can make. And then like 2 questions for you is like, what's your outlook on that? And then also what's your outlook on like, or your number? Like what number would you like to make, and by what age?
By year? Or
But
like how much?
How much money would you like to make by a certain age? Like what's your goal? You know what I mean? Like some people are like, I want to have $1 million by the time I'm 30. Something like that. So like, what are your 2 numbers, and then like kind of what's the why behind them? I'm just curious.
My perception on money is more as money is a tool.
Yeah.
And like a lot of people like what's the word I'm looking for? They kind of rank themselves, I guess, based on how much money they make.
Mm-hmm.
And a big problem with that is they want to, even if, for example, someone makes $20,000 a year
mm-hmm.
versus someone who makes $100,000 a year, if you compare like what they own, like they both probably have iPhones or a smartphone.
Yeah.
The problem is people, no matter how much they make, they want to have those luxuries.
Yeah.
And so money to me is like just a tool to basically get through life. Like provide
to get what
for
you want.
yourself. Get what you want. And secondly, number, I feel, I mean, it's different for different people. I just want to be kind of like when he talks about assets. I've been kind of like not diving in, but taking baby steps and like learning about investments and stuff.
Yeah.
So to me, I want to get to the point where he says like my assets are equal or greater than my liabilities.
So you're living on nothing. Yeah,
so
everything's equaled out.
So you could quit your job and still live, or have like a small income.
Yeah.
Even if you don't have the extra, as long as the assets and liabilities balance out, like you're fine.
Yeah.
So that's, in my mind, that's where I want to be, just to have my assets equal or greater than my liabilities.
Yeah.
Whether it means I'm making $30,000 a year or $1 million a year.
Yeah. The goal is just to equal them out.
Or save some money. And do what I want to do with life, man. Like,
yeah, exactly.
Like I said, I want to travel and stuff.
Yeah.
Travel's not cheap.
No, it's not.
It's really
you can
not.
do it cheap.
You can do it cheap. But
yeah. Not out of the country. That's tougher to do. Like you gotta get a flight and you gotta feed. It's a lot more messy. For sure. No, but yeah, I totally agree with that. And like, I don't think it's about how much you make. I think it's about what you do. Honestly, like if someone is completely content making 20 grand a year and they're not like struggling to breathe financially, like if you're in a pain point where like you can barely pay the bills, like I've been there.
Same.
That's something you gotta get out of that. Somehow get out of that. Whatever you got to do, man. Pick up a second job so you can get out of that situation. Yeah. But at the end of the day, it's more about what you're doing. So like it's about what you spend your time doing. I don't think it's good to spend your whole purpose just around making money. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's kind of like the quote, like love what you do.
Yeah.
Like for example, I work at Aldi. Like I love working there, and like I'll probably continue with them for a while just because I actually enjoy the job versus like previous jobs I've had that maybe I make a little bit more per hour, but it's like backbreaking work. I hate it.
Yeah, absolutely. It matters so much more what you're doing with it. And so yeah, I don't know if it's really about a number or like and it's status symbol as well, like buying like nicer cars and like a little extra this. And I think people think it's going to make them so much more happy or like something. And
it does. It fills that void for a little while. And then the next thing comes out and you're like, man, I don't have that.
Yeah.
And so you kind of like, it's like he says, the rat race. Like, the more money you make, you want the nicer things. You want to keep like getting the next best thing.
Yeah.
Like, for example, iPhones. iPhone's probably the number one thing.
Oh, man.
Like the new one comes out every year.
They're grand. It's insane that they're grand.
Yeah.
For a phone, dude. It's like... That's crazy talk, man. And every year,
every single year, dude.
Hey,
you're coming out with a new one. What is it like? It's in the later part of the year. I want to say like September.
It's usually like September, October. But like oh hey, another $1,200 phone now that you can get. It's like, are they that much better than the one you have?
I mean, if you go like compare like for example the iPhone 7 like maybe the 4.
Yeah,
there's definitely a noticeable difference, but you don't really notice it each year.
I feel like the further ahead we get, the less of the difference there is. You know what I mean? Like.
They'll make the camera a little bit better. They'll make the resolution like a little bit better.
Yeah,
but like is it really worth like the extra $1,000?
Yeah, it never ends, dude. It's just a continual cycle, and it's the rat you never get out of it unless you like I said, you gotta. But it's nice at our perspective because we can see it before we're in it. And like some of us,
you gotta like be like aware, like I guess self knowledge,
Mm-hmm.
of, like where you are financially.
yeah,
But I've definitely been in that. Like in high school, I would get that paycheck and I'd be like, because I'm living with my parents.
Yeah.
I don't really have those expenses. So
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, like I got this. Like I can pay for that. Like new shoes, new this.
yeah,
Like, and then you kind of move out on your own and you're like, damn, like I gotta pay for this. I gotta pay for that.
It starts to suck
and
a
you
lot
kinda,
more.
like, dial it down a little bit
Mhm.
because you understand you gotta pay to live, not like. I mean, it's kind of going off what we were talking about. We already talked about kind of how schools don't really focus on money; they focus on like the scholastic and
Mhm.
professional skills. Where's that? And it has a big effect on one, our financial stability in our lives, and two, like it's all like we're all connected. Like we
Mhm.
don't really realize it, but we're all like financially connected. Whether it be like, for example, the national debt or like
yeah.
country spending,
Mm-hmm.
like the economy, and
No, absolutely. Yeah, like your tax dollars.
he
Absolutely.
talks about like Medicare and Social Security and like welfare and all that, and he compares people who are on welfare 50 years ago versus now. Like they were living in nothing, like
Mhm.
barely had a roof over their heads, didn't have any phone. Whereas someone now, like they have like iPhones, like they're driving nice cars,
Yeah.
and they're still on that, and it becomes a lifestyle, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And people don't really realize it's to like help you get back like
On your feet.
financially stable.
Yeah.
So
I think it's so interesting though. Like you could see like the poorest people, and they have iPhones,
exactly.
and they're paying $70 a month. Like, and then like they could be using that money for other stuff, and they're never like that. It's just that kind of cycle that you're never gonna get out unless you make a change, and that's what's so hard about it. Like most people have like the newest phone, and like
sure.
they don't have like how do you even have that phone, dude? And they take on a payment plan, and they get this car. Now they have this car payment, and then like you're never getting out. You're trapped, and like it's very testy because you can suffocate yourself really fast.
And I mean, there's a lot of different perspectives on the national debt, for example, where he talks about the three things that influence probably national debt the most, like Social Security, Medicare,
Mm-hmm.
and I forget the third one, but he talks about the two. Like
Okay,
Social Security
yeah.
and Medicare. And eventually, like you hear like rumors like they're not gonna be around.
Yeah, I mean
Like,
we're not gonna get anything.
Like we're not.
Yeah.
Like, our parents maybe, but we're not gonna get anything yet. We're still paying.
I know that kind of sucks.
It does, but I don't know where I was really going with that, but it was kind of his perspective on financial stability and like where people like get caught in that rat race.
Yeah, I mean depending on Social Security when you get old, that's like it's a fairy tale really. Like you can't depend. It's not even anything really. Like now it is for people, but like it's just gonna keep getting thinner because the people paying it, the people that need it are way bigger than the people that are paying it.
True.
You know, so you had to. I think tying that back in, he's saying you need to build something so that you're not even secure. Social Security is nothing. You got to not be worried. Act like you're not even gonna get that when you get older. You know. And another thing that I like to kind of talk about with this, as far as like making money or finding like even talking about retirement. This book. By Seneca. He's an old Greek philosopher, and he's like most people want to, when they say like when I'm old I'm going to retire into leisure, and like kind of retire and do what I want when I'm old.
Yeah.
And he goes, why would you, put your efforts towards something or put your efforts towards a point at which very few have arrived. It's like why would you by you're 60, and back then people died early, but like earlier than now. But like why would you live your life just to retire? Like, hey, I'm going to just do this right now, make all my money, and then when I retire, I'll do the things that I want. But you don't think about, like, when you're old, doing those things is not the same as doing them now, like when you're young. Even in your 20s, traveling now is not the same when you're traveling when you're 60.
Exactly.
You can't go to the same places.
You
can't walk as well.
Physically can't do the same things.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's, like, for example, you and I, we could probably easily go rock climb a mountain.
Yeah.
Like when I'm 60, like I could be in a wheelchair. There's no way I'm climbing the mountain.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
I mean, there's some people, like for example, our coach. He's
Some
out there
can.
running suicides.
Yeah, some can.
But more than likely,
but you don't know.
You're not going to be able to perform at the same level or
Yeah.
just have the same amount of fun or experience it as greatly when you're done.
That's the problem though, because when you get older, you're gonna have a lot more money to do those things, but you'll want to go back. You know, I bet you any 80-year-old would give all their money, no matter how old, like no matter how much they have, to be 20 again.
And
they give all of it.
People don't realize it, but time.
Yeah.
Time is like your greatest asset.
Mm-hmm.
For example, like if you put $1,000 in like investments now versus like someone who's 40, like the time it has to develop. Like in the book, he talks about, for example, like building like a house, and he compares it to the Empire State Building. So many people want to like get rich quick, make millions.
Yeah.
Where he compares that to the Empire State Building, but they're not building the foundation that needs.
Mm-hmm.
And he talks about the house, like it requires a 6-inch layer of slab.
You got the foundation.
Whereas the Empire State Building needs a massive foundation.
Yeah.
And that foundation is like that financial literacy we're talking about, and the self-knowledge of money.
Yeah. So kind of like the more money you want to make, the bigger that foundation has to be.
Exactly.
Or the better it has. I mean, obviously, yeah. Like,
I mean, that goes with anything. Like, if you look, you gotta have a strong foundation or a strong core to keep developing or building upon, even if that means breaking down what you have to make a greater foundation.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people don't realize that, and they'll build, and then their their foundation crumbles.
Yeah.
Everything comes down with it.
Something I thought was I was watching a video, and to kind of tie it back in, I was watching a video, and someone was talking about like this conference that they were at, and it was like a marketing conference, and maybe it was I don't know who was telling me this, so I'm kind of out off of a limb here, but Person A. Someone was telling me that they were at a marketing like conference, like a bunch of marketers go, and they have meetings, and they'd have like a keynote, and then they go and meet in different rooms and like do groups. And one room was doing like expert level stuff, and they were kind of teaching tactics, like high level stuff. One was teaching like middle tier, and then there was like basic. And the guy said that the best marketers in the room went to the basics. All of them went to the basics, and the people that didn't know what they were doing, they would go to the middle and expert level stuff. And like that shift in mentality, like the people that know everything want to learn a basic to build on that foundation. Yeah. If they're missing something, if they have a weak point at the very beginning so they can fix it, the expert level stuff isn't really that what matters. Yeah. Like you don't need to know the very intimate knowledge of the high level like financial stuff. You don't need to know that far in. You need the basics first. You need a foundation, and like
don't much anything.
Yeah, like basketball. Layups, dribbling. You can't just go out and I'll just shoot 3-pointers. Yeah, you can't just be like, I want to just shoot threes. Like, but if you can't dribble, you're never gonna play basketball. If you can't do a layup, no team's gonna have you. If all you do, like, if you can't even shoot a layup, but you can shoot threes, no one wants you because unless you're Ray Allen. That's a little bit different. Yeah, he's a little. He still got the layup though. Yeah, it's just the basics, man, and like starting with the basics. That's so important. That's so important with the foundation thing. Okay. Another idea that I have written down here, and kind of tying back into the assets thing that he's talking about is, it's way more worth it to spend money on things that you can build. You can build a product or a service from, or to build something that can make you more. Even if you lose it, the knowledge of that first iteration is going to bring you so much more money later on. So and like a lot of people are like afraid to like start something because they think they're gonna lose money. Yeah. They're afraid to buy this thing that could make them more money if they want it, or get them what they want, but they're afraid it's gonna be a waste. But like the experience of, like, let's say for example, like let's just say you're an entrepreneur, you have this product, and like let's just say you want to make this product. Even if the product is a failure, that experience is gonna help you build later on. So like most entrepreneurs don't make it off their first or second business. It's usually further down the road because it takes time and you get to learn those lessons that you can't like foresee, and you have to go through that and feel those pain to step off of it.
Yeah, and in the book he I think he makes a comparison of treat, like, for example, treat that as your employee, because like make money work for you, because money doesn't get tired, money never gets old, so like that your money works 24 hours a day, and you really need to understand that. For example, like a lot of people I know, they'll keep all their money in their checking, versus even if they have like $5,000 saved up.
Mm-hmm.
They took that $5,000 and invested it, and even if they only get like a small return, I guarantee it's better than the return you're getting in a check.
You're getting like
0.005.
Yeah. You give you like a check for like $2 at the end of the year. You're like, oh, great. But the bank's doing exactly what you should be doing. They're taking your money and they're loaning it out to people, and they're making a way higher return.
They are.
And then just giving you a little piece of it, you know?
Versus like dumping it in like a 401k where you could get like 8%.
Yeah.
In some cases.
Yeah, definitely. 401ks are if like I know you need one, but like I was saying about like when you're 60, retire into leisure. I feel like those dollars, if you use them wisely, like if you're gonna build it something or like you want to create an asset for yourself, those dollars are more worth it to do it now than investing in a 401k. I think they are.
I think it kind of is like 50-50. Like you want to like provide for your future self.
Yeah.
You want to develop your current self.
Mm-hmm.
For example, like I already have like a 401k, so like, and my company matches up to 5%. So I put.
Oh, that's
like
nice
5%
though. Yeah, I would do that. Yeah.
Check. So it's like just growing, and I plan on being with this company for a while, so it's just gonna like keep growing. But for someone that doesn't, like I've kind of looked at other investments and honestly just kind of following companies you like. For example, I have a friend, he's a big technology guy. Mm-hmm. I'm sure you've heard of NVIDIA. Yeah. They're like the huge boom this last couple of years. And it was something he loves. He loves technology. He loves computers. And he took that knowledge he had, saw that this company was like, it was starting up. Like they'd been around for a little while, but they were just like starting to take off. And he saw that, and he recognized they had a great product, and he invested in them. And I think he invested around $30 a share, and they're at $200 now.
Wow.
So it's just stuff like that, like following something you understand and knowing how to put your money into different like investments or channels. That come back to you.
Mm-hmm. But the important thing that Robert Kiyosaki even talks about is taking that money he made off that investment and turning around and investing it again.
Back into the assets.
Because a lot of people want to take it and they want to, like, oh, dude, I just made $10,000 off this investment. They want to spend it. It's like the rich people, they don't even spend that money. It just keeps building. That's how you get that snowball effect. And he said that's why the rich get richer right there. It's just they take the money they make and they put it to make more money. They don't buy stuff.
And like people who don't understand investments, for example, if you did invest in something and it starts going down, you're like, man, I'm losing money. But you don't see the long-term picture. You don't see that every quarter you get dividends that get dumped back into that. Yeah. And they'll like be like, oh, I'm losing money. And then they'll look in a year. For example, I invested in something. This is my first investment, so bear with me. Invested, it was like $30 a share, and it went down like to 20, and I was like really disappointed. And so I pulled out and look a year later, and it's up at like 67. And it's just things like that, like understanding how things work. Yeah. Versus like your short-term fears, like overlooking the fear for like the greater picture. Yeah.
Like a lot of people would pull out. Like, I mean, if it's crashing, you're like, I need to get out now. Yeah. They say like the Great Recession 2007, like the rich people, like Tony Robbins and everybody that kind of, he teaches some financial stuff too, but like everything's on sale. Yeah, like exactly. They love it because everything's on sale.
That's the perfect time to buy. Honestly.
Yeah. It's not good. It's never good, but like they're like, if it does happen, the crashes, like everything's on sale, man. That's their mentality of it. They're not like pulling their money out because they're scared. They're buying more. They're doubling down. They are super interesting.
So I mean, for example, if something's at 40, and they've been investing periodically at 40, and it goes down to 10, and they invest a bunch, then the average there's what's that? 20, 25.
Yeah, it'd be nice. I mean,
so you basically took your average like investment, cut it in half, and then it's some cases bankruptcy will happen, but in most companies, if they're a solid company, like they're gonna turn around whether it's a recession or not. Yeah.
Have you seen The Big Short?
I have.
Yeah, that's a good one though.
It is a good movie. Man. It's kind of like you kind of like have mixed feelings about it, but at the same time, you're like,
at the end,
that's kind of dope.
It was dope. Like at the end, man, I felt bad, like because like the big banks knew the government was gonna bail them out, so they just screwed so many people over.
They did.
So many people. It's just so like, yeah, it's kind of sickening. that they did that
That's
anyways.
how-
Like the greed of that
Like
is so.
the mentality of it, like, man, these guys are like geniuses, and at the same time, you're like, man, screw these guys.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
screwed everything up.
Like that scene where they're like the dudes in Florida. They go down to Florida or something, and like they're the guys that are giving them loans. Like they're like giving people like 5 or 6 loans, and like they have like all these giant houses, and they're like banking out. They're like fuck yeah, those dudes down in I'm trying to picture the scene right now, but you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I haven't seen it in a while, but I kind of remember.
They go down to Florida. There's these other guys that aren't in the main characters, and they go down to check out how bad it's getting with the real estate crisis. And they go down, they're like, you guys just give these people loans? Like, yeah, they don't check their credit or anything. They just keep giving them loans for huge houses that they can't afford, you know?
Yeah.
And they're like, I think one scene, there's like talking to like this dancer. And she's like, yeah, I have like my 3 homes. And he's like, what? You have 3 homes? She's like, yeah. The people are just piling all this debt. They have all these
3 liabilities.
Yeah, yeah. They have all these, and they're just like, that's when they knew it was gonna explode. Like it's gonna pop eventually.
For sure.
That's a good movie though. If anyone's
It is
seen
good
it
movie.
yet, it's a pretty good one.
Yeah, check it out.
Yeah, it's an eye opening for sure. It's kind of high level stuff, but they make it good. So yeah, I'm trying to kind of bring up like the main ideas out of this book, the things that you can kind of take away and move from. Actually, before going into that, because some people think like all the assets you can have are like stocks. A lot of people are like, all right, like stocks, bonds, whatever that is an asset, but there's other things you can make. Like if you owned a property that you rented out, that's an asset. I'm just trying to get like some examples. If you own a company of some sort, you built something, it doesn't have to make a lot of money, but if it brings
like royalties,
something in,
or you like design a product, like patent, like
patents.
There's a ton. Investments. There's so many different types of investments.
Yeah.
So it's hard to just pool them all together in one word. Like,
Yeah.
you have your stocks. You have your like mutual funds. Your CDs.
There's a ton of stuff.
And like they all come in, like with different levels of risk and gain.
Yeah.
Like, usually the more risky, like the more opportunity there is for like a huge gain.
Yeah.
But a lot of people want that security. So like they'll maybe go to like a mutual fund where like that person's gonna like diversify it for you.
Yeah.
Even if it means like
Less rates.
1 to 2%.
Yeah. Yeah. But there's just a lot of stuff. Like if you had any service you provided, that's a asset.
It is.
And not like away from your job. Obviously, your service at your job is an asset too. Anything that brings you money in. But any products, any books that you write, any things that you work on that can make you money later. Just like experimenting and finding ways that you can do it, and things that you enjoy doing. That's important too.
Yeah.
Creating assets that you like. Like, yeah, you can work at whatever McDonald's and hate it. It's still an asset. It's still making you money, but like it's not
Versus,
ideal.
like, for example, writing a book. Like one of my friends wrote a book and sold it. I think it was for like $2.99 on Amazon or something.
Oh, that's
But
sweet.
That's an ebook. So like
Yeah.
and like just like something like that.
It's making him money.
Making him money.
Yeah.
And he enjoys like literature and like writing and doing that stuff like professionally.
That's sweet.
Yeah. Like,
Yeah, exactly.
It's just an example of like what you're kind of talking about.
Yeah. That's I think trying to create stuff that's gonna bring you money later is super important, especially if you're in the rat race and like for example, you don't like your job and like, you need a way out. You gotta really kind of turn it around. Yeah, and it's a big mental shift that has to happen, right? Because like you've been used to living this way, and like the only way to change is to make a change, some sort of change, some sort of habit change, and then it starts to grow.
And like they
kind of
say, like it's so simple, but at the same time, like it's so hard to apply.
Yeah.
Like if you just break it down to the absolute basics, you have to bring in more money than you spend. But if you look, a lot of times, a lot of people don't. They're running up credit cards. They're some more examples. They're getting huge loans on houses.
They can't.
That they because most people sign for a 30-year mortgage.
I know, that's insane to me.
And
that's so crazy to me.
I maybe know. Probably my grandparents are the only person I know that have actually stayed in a house for 30 years and actually completed
paid
off. Their house completely off.
Yeah.
Most people I know, they'll stay in a house for a couple of years and then go to a new one and
ratchet up,
get another loan,
bigger loan, probably
bigger loan because they gotta account for what they're leaving.
Yeah, man. Yeah, that's a big problem. But yeah, applying it is so hard. It's so hard. Even on our, like, we could talk about it all day. Like, yeah, like we talked about, it's like I'm not perfect at it either, you know?
Yeah.
And, yeah, 30-year loans, you got like a mortgage for 30 years. It's just like, dude, you're trapped now. Like, you're trapped.
Yeah.
Kind of. Like, I just don't want to get trapped. I, like, see it, and I'm like, man, a 30-year mortgage, like,
Or like
on a house.
Student loan. Like,
Student loans are similar, yeah.
paying it off as fast as you can, so like avoid all those that
Yeah.
interest.
Yeah. Student loans are something I'm not a big fan of because you can't get your money back. Like anything else, like that's like the biggest thing. Like anything else, if you spent that much money on it, there's a way you could probably get your money back at some point, right?
Yeah. For example, like a house, like
Yeah.
you spend that much, like eventually, yeah, you'll sell it, or for example, rent it out
Mm-hmm.
and make that extra money that's coming in monthly. But yeah, student loans, like
Yeah, if you bought a product and it sucked, like let's say you got a degree and you're like, dude, this degree sucks. You can't return it.
No.
Nope, and you can't get out of the debt. Even if you die, your debt gets passed on to your kids or your parents or however it works. You know, you could die with debt and it gets passed on. It doesn't even go away.
I mean,
with
yeah,
debt.
because like most of us, like we don't really think about it, but we have to co-sign on like loans that big.
Yeah.
And you don't really realize that the person that like is co-signing like is taking part of the responsibility. So for example, like something happened to you, like that person now becomes responsible.
Yeah.
And like it sucks.
Yeah.
And, like you said, it's probably the worst payment in my opinion too. 'Cause
Yeah.
you don't get it back.
Mm-hmm.
Even though it does like develop your education, what have you.
No, it's good. Like college is good. It's great. But man, the payment part and kind of tying into like credit cards too, man. Like I'm not a big fan of credit cards because you buy something now and you get that reward, then you later get to pay, and like that hurts more for me. Like now that I've already got it and I'm paying for it after I've got it, I'd rather just pay for it up front. I know credit cards you can build credit with. That they're a very important tool.
Yeah,
but
that's what I was getting ready to say
yeah,
as well.
just the simple transaction of it, buying something now and then having to pay for it later. That sucks, especially like.
One of my, I'm trying to think who it was. I want to say it was like my family consumer science. It wasn't even like an economic or financial class, just like a family consumer science class back in McCutcheon actually. And she like all encouraged us to get credit cards, but warned us it's like the best thing, but at the same time it's the worst thing. Like,
oh yeah.
If you make the payments and you like manage your credit well, it can do like crazy things for you. Like, if you develop a great credit score, like you get better loans, you get better rates.
Yeah.
But on the flip side, if you don't make those payments, one, it's gonna keep compounding because let's say, what's a typical? Do you have a credit card? Like what's your like?
They're about
your
20% interest, like, about like 18-20%, I think.
Yeah, like
on average. I
think mine's like 15.
15, yeah.
15%.
Yeah.
And like there was one month I didn't pay. And it was only like I have a $1,000 limit, but I was like, there's $100 of it that I didn't pay, and like then I had to pay like $115. I'm like, damn.
Yeah.
Like, I was like, it's like I related it back to that example, like the best and worst thing.
Yeah. Yeah, they're a tricky thing.
And
they scared me.
Banks really get people because they'll do the 6 months where you don't pay interest. So like you'll max it out and you're like, I got 6 months before I gotta even start making like payments on this thing, and then you get to that 6 months.
Interest is fat.
You're like,
yeah,
all right, interest just went up to 18%, 20%, and it kind of screws you over. But.
Well, hey, kind of coming back, we'll kind of get like, what was your biggest take? If you could pick one thing from this book, what was your biggest takeaway from the book?
Biggest takeaway from the book.
It doesn't have to be like just the one that comes to you right now. You know, you might think later, like, oh, I should have said that. But
a few bookmarks.
Yeah, of course.
Really stood out to me. Let me find it. So throughout the book, he has the gist of the book, and then he has these little like kind of boxes where it's a bolded kind of just excerpt from the book, and I just flipped to one of the ones I had bookmarked, but it's start minding your own business, keep your daytime job, but start like buying real assets, not liabilities. That really stood out to me because I have that like steady paycheck like with the job I'm at, but at the same time like I'm at that point where I want to start building like assets and buying assets that will work for me.
Yeah.
Because, like, I mean, I'm ambitious. Like, I want to, like, keep getting better, like, moving up and getting, like, that better pay. But at the same time, I want to get to the point where I can retire at an earlier age than, like, 60 or even 50. Like, I want to be in, like, probably my 40s.
That'd be nice.
Be able to retire comfortably because I have those assets working for me.
Yeah.
And then also taking the money you make from those assets and putting it back, like continuing the cycle, and then putting them back in the assets and continuing to grow. And he talks about kind of the Robin Hood thing where like the rich keep getting richer.
Yeah.
And like it's kind of sensitive topic to like people. Like,
yeah.
The rich get richer, the poor get poorer. But the reason like the rich do get richer is because they understand that the assets are what's making the money, and they'll build those assets, and all the money they make from that, they put it back in. So their assets just keep exponentially getting larger and larger.
Yeah.
And versus someone who's poor who's racking up liabilities that make them poorer.
Yeah.
So I guess the biggest takeaway from the book is understanding that like your self-knowledge of money and managing what you have versus like what you want.
So do you think this is kind of like a base level book, and then this can kind of send you to leapfrog to find other books or other ways to learn about like more deeper stuff? Because this isn't anything complex, right? It's something that's like anybody could read this. No, not anybody, but
like we talked about, like he did a great job in this book. He breaks it down so that someone who doesn't have like a ton of experience in personal finance or economics or accounting can understand it like very well.
Yeah.
And he relates it to personal like life stories of him and his friend, and like contrasting the dad's different points of views. And when he does that, you kind of see like you relate to probably one. Sometimes like you might relate to both.
Yeah.
But like definitely relating to like one of the dads and like kind of understanding his perspective, and then looking at the contrast and kind of like taking away from that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I really think you can read this book and then develop that base level, like kind of like the foundation we're talking about.
Yeah.
Definitely channeling out to like leapfrogging, like you said, into different like sectors of personal finance.
Yeah, I mean I think it's a very powerful book for people that read it. And it's only powerful if you apply it. But having the knowledge there is super important. And so yeah, I mean I think it's a great book, and if anybody wants to check it out, Rich Dad Poor Dad. Robert Kiyosaki, right? It's Kiyosaki. I'm pretty sure. Kiyosaki.
Kawasaki. I think
Kiyosaki.
Kiyosaki. I don't know.
Kiyosaki.
I think it's Kiyosaki.
Kiyosaki. Sorry, Robert. If you're
listening,
if he's listening, man, reach out to me.
Yeah.
Is there anything else that you would like to touch on here in the book that you think is pretty good? I'm not really sure how we are on time. I need to wear a watch or something so I can time it.
We're right at an hour.
Okay.
There's one. Let me find it. There's this. So there's like an article on I don't know if it's an article, but it's a story. It's a nonfiction story.
Okay.
It's called The Richest Businessmen. So in 1923, a group of the greatest leaders and richest businessmen held a meeting at the Edgewater Beach Hotel in Chicago. And it kind of, I'm not going to read all of it. It's decent. It's like a whole page. But it's basically all these CEOs and founders of these huge companies. They have millions and millions. And they have this huge meeting. And then 25 years later, 9 of the 10 of them like had not tragic deaths, but either committed suicide or died.
Wow.
And 9 of the 10 of them died broke.
Oh wow.
And they created huge companies like the International Match Company or the Independent Steel Company, like largest utility company, like huge companies, like massive companies. And it was right before like the Great Depression. And these guys, like 9 of the 10, like died broke. And it's kind of mind-blowing. Like, these guys made millions. Like,
yeah. More than we could ever even fathom
like,
having. Yeah.
It's uncomprehendable like, how much money these guys made. And they lost it. Like, they died broke.
They spent all of it. Man. But, I mean, would you want to die rich? Like, Steve Jobs, like, I don't want to be the richest guy in the graveyard. You know, you want to... I mean, there's kind
But
of
at the
a
same time, you want to be able. The whole point, like not whole point, but a huge point of developing that financial stability is to pass it
on. Yeah, it is.
For example, like
yeah,
if you build it up versus spend it all and leave them with nothing, then
yeah,
like, it kind of affects your kids.
mm-hmm. No, yeah, it definitely can. But I mean, there's like a kind of like a double-edged sword on it, right?
Does.
Because you're still teaching them the knowledge of how to get that, so they can take it and then, move on with it. They can take that knowledge and then create it for themselves, or you could give them a bunch. The problem with I think people that have a ton of money and they give it all to their kids, I feel like it messes your kids up. Like once they die, like if you're like, let's say that you're gonna get like $100,000 by the time you're 28, or like more. Let's say millions. You're gonna inherit $1 million. What is your motivation now? What is your motivation to do anything?
Exactly.
And the thing is about those people, you'll never be self-made, ever. You know what I mean? Everyone's going to just say, hey, dude, you got that inherit. People even say that to Trump still, even though Trump made a ton of money. His dad gave him like $1 million loan to start his first business. Yeah, he's never self-made. You're always like on the piggyback.
There's a Japanese proverb. The Japanese are aware of 3 powers: the power of the sword, the power of the jewel, and the power of the mirror. So basically, the power of weapons, the sword, the power of the jewel, having money, being able to make the rules and stuff, and the power of the mirror, self-awareness, self-knowledge.
Yeah.
And I really that's another thing I couldn't find it at the time you asked me, but another big takeaway from the book is just being self-aware of where you were at.
Yeah.
What you need to do to survive in the point you're at.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, self-awareness is key. And really laying out what all your values are and what you really want. Yeah. And not sugarcoating it, not because some people are like, oh, I really want this. But the deeper you go, the more you realize that you only want that for a certain reason. And then finding out what reason is that. Let's say I really want this car. And then you go, well, why do I want that car? Well, maybe because I like the status of it. Maybe it makes me feel like I'll have money if I have that car. And then you start to ask, why do I feel like I want to have that status? Why do I need that? Why do I need that car to have that status anyways? Then the deeper you go, the more you really find that and I think it's a really great exercise to do some of that stuff with the things that you're looking for, is to trace them all the way back to the real reason why, and just keep asking that why. Just keep getting to the very core. And then now you're sitting here with the core and you're like, well, actually I could get that from a lot of other things. I don't actually need that car now. Yeah. And then you can
need the temporary happiness.
Yeah, and you can go in so many more directions. You can take that and then you can really build off of what really matters to you. And that's that core is your values, really. People want the things that you own are kind of your values in a way, if you have a nice car, you have a nice camera, cameras photography, that's their value. They love it. So you know what I mean?
Yeah, and people value different things too.
Yeah, exactly.
With possessions, some people value experiences.
Oh yeah.
I know people that if you were to go over to their place and see what they own, you'd would be like, you know what, this person doesn't really have that much.
Yeah.
But at the same time, some of those people have traveled to 40 states.
Yeah.
40 to 50 states, or traveled to 5 different countries, and they've had different experiences and different values.
Yeah.
So I guess it's what you want, your values, and then obtaining it.
Yeah. I mean, pulling it back to the self, just becoming aware of that and doing that exercise exactly, then rather than just kind of going through life and picking things that other people have because it's easy. Sometimes we just pick things that we want to achieve or get because other people do them. We see them as being attractive rather than looking internally and asking yourself, what do you really want to get? And then deciding on it, not because that person's doing it or because it looks fun or because they showed a picture on Instagram of them in Bali or whatever it is. Now you want to go to Bali because you saw that picture. Did you really want to go to Bali? You know what I mean? Or did you just want to go there because you saw the picture?
Exactly.
So yeah, you guys are kind of wrapping it up all back together. I kind of want to talk about the experiences thing too. In that book by Seneca, he's a Stoic philosopher, and Stoics are people that are more value a lot more awareness, and he talks a lot about time. So he talks about the value of learning how to sit back and really think and go back through, like if I'm trying to rephrase this in the right way. He's phrased it differently because he's a philosopher, so it's phrased in ways that are difficult
Very
to repeat.
deep.
Yeah, and the way he
like
says it is just hard. It's not how we talk nowadays. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I understand what you're saying.
So the kind of the whole gist of it is saying that your life is a highlight reel, and unless you know how to view that highlight reel, you know, you're kind of just stuck going forward. You're kind of stuck just wanting things. But the second you become self-aware and you can sit back and you learn how to take the time out of your day and kind of replay your life in a way. The people that can do that can live a much longer life than the people that only see what's in front of them. So being able to sit back and like for experiences, for example, you know, people that value experiences are probably people that sit down and they really would go back through their mind. They can relive them just by thinking about them, getting that enjoyment there, and it's infinite.
It is, honestly.
Yeah, you don't live forever, but you can always go back and like you can always while you're alive and what would you say, value your past and relive it in a way. You can live that lifetime 1,000 times. So those experiences are so powerful. Yeah.
I really agree.
I don't know if I phrased that the same way. He phrased it very well, but I'm like.
I mean, to put it in like a modern day perspective,
Yeah.
I think you kind of killed it, but
Yeah.
I understand completely what you're saying.
It's really good. But yeah, I mean, kind of rounding out the book. I don't know where we're the conversations always get so like moved around, but I think it went pretty well. I think we got a lot of the good stuff out. But anyways, everybody, thanks if you're still with us here on this recording. Thanks for watching. Yeah, we'll see you in the next one. Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Check it out. Thanks.